There is a lot of commotion in the product community right now about how Airbnb is getting rid of product managers. Other companies seem to be following the same philosophy. Let's dig into what's really happening here and get to the root of whether product managers are even needed anymore. Historically, the discipline of product management has gone through a series of existential crises. My LinkedIn feed has been full of free-floating anxiety the last few days that tells me we're going through another, as companies such as Airbnb have been making very bold statements about radically changing and even getting rid of the role of the product manager. To make this analysis a little easier, let's separate the function of product management from the job titles of the people who contribute to it. When I talk about the discipline of product management, I talk about all of the activities that contribute to the overall lifecycle management of the product. We often assign these responsibilities to particular roles like product managers, product marketing managers, product operations managers, and product owners. Separating the job titles from the business function will make this topic much easier to analyze. To begin with, it's worth noting that the role of the product manager has evolved over time and has gone through several major iterations as the practice of building software products became more mainstream, understood, and competitive. That is, the role of the product manager has changed as we've come to understand the disciplines of product management better. In the early days of software products, programmers often took on multiple roles, including what is now thought of as UX and what is now typically considered to be at least parts of the product management landscape. However, as the complexity of software increased and the recognition arrived that many software products had extremely long lifetimes in the marketplace, the need for individuals who are specialized in overseeing the entire product lifecycle from conception through delivery and into retirement became apparent. Product managers emerged to take on this more abstract function with a general mandate to find, quantify, prioritize, and describe market problems. The role continued to evolve and mature through the 1980s and 1990s, but then hit another major realignment as the world began to embrace agile methodologies as a superior way to build software. These techniques created a shift towards more collaborative and customer-focused approaches to software development, and product managers found themselves being pushed closer and closer to the development teams. This ultimately took the form of what is now very often called a product owner, a Scrum term that took on a life of its own and one that I particularly dislike. Whatever you choose to call the role, it has product managers taking on additional technical burden while choreographing the feedback loop between customers and the developers. It puts them very close to the construction of the software. I have felt for some time that the industry has swung the pendulum far too hard in that direction, and there's a cost that comes with having product managers stuck in with development. They aren't doing some of the more traditional functions of the role in as much depth or even at all. Things like market research and analysis, buyer needs assessments, competitive intelligence, product strategy, release and launch oversight, performance monitoring of key business KPIs, providing domain expertise, and so on. If you would like to see a video or even a series of videos that really breaks down the various activities within product management and gives a very detailed look at the landscape, drop me a comment and let me know. Also, if you're enjoying the content so far, please consider throwing a like and a subscribe on there. It really helps the channel out more than you can possibly know. I do have a related video that talks about the over-rotation of the industry away from buyer needs and towards user needs. You can find that linked in the comments down below, and you can find it up in the corner. It is this movement of product toward engineering that has had the side effect of building user-focused software at the expense of the buyers. In short, what has happened is that less investment has been placed in understanding market and buyer behaviors and needs, and more has been placed on customer and user behaviors and needs. Many companies try to compensate for this by the insertion of product marketing into the mix. The idea there is that product marketing managers will handle more of the market-facing side of the product lifecycle, while product managers handle software construction and the customer side. The trouble here is that the boundary between these two roles is very vague. There's major overlap and mutual dependency between them, and many organizations don't define the roles nearly well enough. So people don't really know who owns what responsibilities across the full product management landscape. And this leads to all of the inefficiencies you can imagine, the most common of these being the gravitational pull of the product marketing managers towards marketing communications and the product managers towards engineering. This is made even worse by the fact that product marketing and product managers often live in different organizations and have different departmental objectives. Short of having a plethora of truly exceptional product managers and product marketers, it's the product management functions that ultimately suffer to the benefit of marketing and engineering. And now we're seeing companies make big announcements of changes to their PM landscape, and it leads us to question whether we have our efforts properly aligned. I am seeing companies asking exactly the right question. Can we distribute the product management work differently within the organization to achieve a better result? They are not asking, how can we do away with product managers? And that's because, in the end, all of the lifecycle requirements of a software product still remain. Product management will exist as long as software products continue to exist. Titles may change and responsibilities may shuffle around a little bit, but if you are a product manager and have expertise in a significant subset of the universe of product management, you will absolutely have a critical role to play. In the Airbnb example, it appears they are putting more of the product owner type responsibilities on the technical teams and putting more emphasis on what is traditionally thought of as product marketing, and encouraging a more senior product team overall. And that, to me, is what many companies should be entertaining. Product managers should be market experts, and it is hard to become one of those when 100% of your day is focused on software construction and managing customers. The product management landscape is vast. That's why there have been specializations that have grown out of it and into product marketing and product operations and product ownership. Once companies reach a certain size, I feel it's inevitable that these more specialized roles become necessary, as the volume is going to be too high and the breadth too wide for a single well-defined role to exist that can be executed by a mere mortal. However, alternatives might exist that will have other parts of the organization take on some of the traditional product management responsibilities, freeing the product managers to return to their core competencies. Until that scale is reached, however, companies will need to prioritize among the millions of things that a product manager or marketer or owner or operations manager can be working on. The goal ultimately should be long-term product health and success. I would personally suggest that most companies would benefit from additional investment in the market side of the house, because, as I mentioned in the other video that I linked earlier, it is entirely possible to make your product better without making it more valuable. And if you keep doing that, you will lose. And all of that leads me to the conclusion that Airbnb is probably doing exactly the right thing for its business. For a company to grow, sufficient energy needs to go into understanding markets and developing GTM strategy, including positioning, monetization, and growth strategies. Further, to really hit a home run, most of this needs to be thought through in the early stages of product ideation, not when the software is nearing completeness in engineering. So, to me, all of this hubbub is really just the navel-gazing that the product community tends to do every once in a while to assess whether we're placing our efforts in the right places. It is not, however, changing the fundamental nature of what product management is, nor is it doing anything other than righting an imbalance in the industry that is pushed too hard for product managers to be adjuncts to engineering. Quite the opposite. I believe it is this kind of thinking that will push product managers to focus on more strategic, corporate-affecting outcomes rather than the status quo of building better products that people ultimately value less. But what do you think? Is this the beginning of the end for product managers? Do you feel that Airbnb and others who seem to be on the same path have it right? Let's keep the discussion going in the comments down below. Thanks very much for watching, everyone, and I hope to see you in the next one.